Hello students. In our earlier lecture we have studied one of the American literature term, and this term that we are going to study is African American poetry. As we have seen, literature of all ages has somewhat some similar characteristic or features, and there have been some region, time, language, as well as culture specific variations in themes and forms of literature. These themes and forms of literature are reflecting different places and ages. The themes and subject matter dealt with in the literature brings us the contemporary picture and socio-cultural issues in the literature. As we have seen, the African American literature in our first semester, we have the same type of literature that is in the form of poetry, and that we are going to discuss here. See, African American literature or poetry is the body of literature written by African American descent. African American literature began in, of course, the later half of the 18th century, with some of the members of his community express their ideas and feelings in literary form. The history of African American poetry can be looked as the history of African American people in America. It gives us faithful depiction of many ups and downs in personal, social, cultural, and political lives of this people. It's widely claimed it was there for more than 2 centuries, attempting to come on the surface of American mainstream literature. History of African Americans in America shows that they were enslaved since their arrival in America. These slaves were regarded as subhuman, incapable of in every form of cultural, artistic achievements and scientific achievements. They were denigrated to the lower level in the socio-cultural background. The whites were treating them as non-human or subhuman. Naturally, the aim of the African American writers was to prove their skills in protest of that. So the questions and issues related to the black people were naturally become the subject of the African American poetry. African American पोएट्रीमध्ये आपल्याला ब्लॅक लाईव्ज जसे आहेत किंवा भारतामध्ये जे दलित आहेत, दलितांचे जे प्रश्न, ज्या समस्या, जे सामाजिक आणि जातीय आधारावर जे भेदभाव केला जातो त्याच्या विरोधात सांस्कृतिकदृष्ट्या, सामाजिकदृष्ट्या त्यांच्यावर जे अन्याय होतात त्याच्या विरोधात जसं दलित साहित्य लिहितं, तसंच आफ्रिकन अमेरिकन पोएट्रीमध्ये वांशिक जो मतभेद आहे, वांशिक भेदभाव जो आहे त्याच्या विरोधात हे सर्व लिखाण पाहायला मिळतं. माणसाच्या सामाजिक, राजकीय, सांस्कृतिक अशा जीवनामध्ये जिथे जिथे भेदभाव असेल तिथे तिथे त्याचा प्रोटेस्ट करणं, आणि ब्लॅक जरी असलो तरी वी आर ह्युमन बीइंग हे जगाला सांगण्याचं, ओढून सांगण्याचं, लिखाणाच्या माध्यमातून जगापर्यंत पोहोचवण्याचं काम हे ब्लॅक पोएट्री किंवा ब्लॅक लिटरेचर करतं. आणि म्हणून व्हाईट्स जे आहेत त्यांची ही फिलॉसॉफी, भेदभाव करण्याची फिलॉसॉफी कशी चुकीची आहे, कशी चुकीच्या आधारावर आधारित आहे, बेस्ड ऑन रॉंग बेसिक्स, हे सांगण्याचं काम आफ्रिकन अमेरिकन पोएट्री करते. म्हणून हे खोलवर रुतलेलं व्हाईट लोकांच्या समाजामध्ये, मनामध्ये खोलवर रुतलेलं हे जे बीज आहे, जे विषारी आहे, इट्स पॉयझनस वन, दॅट शुड बी रिमूव्ड. अँड फॉर दिस ब्लॅक लिटरेचर इज बिंग रिटन. आणि म्हणून असे जे काही फिलिप्स व्हिटली आहे, से व्हेरियस सब्जेक्ट्स religious and moral which appeared on poems on various subjects. The poems लिहिलेत in 1773. She has to undergo so many difficulties to get her poems published. No one accepted her in America. So naturally she has to cross the ocean and she got them published in America, in London, in Europe. So in this poem, Phyllis Wheatley has exhibited remarkable mastery and poetic forms, just like mainstream American writers. She has that capability. So as the socio-political conditions of the time were unfavorable for the existence of the black people, they had to fight for every single necessity of their life. Their lives were full of suffering and atrocities. These writers expressed their personal emotions and agonies of the community. Black people were speaking and writing on the behalf of the black brotherhood and sisterhood. आपले जे समाज बांधव आहेत त्यांचंच चित्रण, त्यांचेच प्रश्न हे ब्लॅक लिटरेचरमध्ये लेखक, ब्लॅक रायटर्स करतात. With hard efforts, these writers, they succeeded in demonstrating all their caliber, all their intellectual capacities and calibers. So through the declaration of, say, we have seen the America become independent. Abraham Lincoln won that. He tried to enforce the true democratic principles in the American society. But it was not achieved because there were protests from the whites also. This treatment was a racist treatment. So the lives of the slaves was very difficult one, and the black wanted the abolition of slavery. But whites never accepted this wholeheartedly. The black people were disappointed. They were still discriminated, and even today in the Donald Trump that we have seen, we have some John Floyd, we have seen the Black Lives Matter was the punchline in the last few months. Why so? And it may be for this rioters and for this, we have seen the Democratic Joe Biden has taken an oath of presidency few days ago because he is democratic. He has restored some of the black members in his own cabinet that we can see in the last 2 days newspaper. मागच्या 2-3 न्यूजपेपर्समध्ये आपल्याला पाहायला मिळेल. These, so black should get the equal opportunities in every walk of life. They must be respected. In each and every walk, they should be treated equal. They should be treated as a beautiful one. And that is what the black lives matter. They prove lives. They prove their skills. They prove their beauty. It's an intellectual beauty, not a color. Color is just a black, we have seen. But we are also human being. You have the same organs as we do have. All the same do organs you have, we also know. That is the honest appeal of the black people, black literature to the world. And to fulfill their so-called purpose, these writers tried their hands in writing essays, poetry, fiction, journalism, and we have seen appeal in 4 articles together with a preamble. Citizen of the world. David Walker was such a person who wrote on this. Maria W. Stewart, Jelena Lee, and other writers who advocated this tradition of slave narratives, and they want to prove their worth in making America great one. In Frederick Douglass, as we have seen the life of Frederick Douglass, it's written by himself. Harriet Jacobs, the life of slave girl. But this tussle between whites and black brought the Civil War. Still not gone down well. In 1869 was a Reconstruction Act that we have seen. But to remove the slavery, it takes too much of effort, too much of legal procedure. And that we have seen that we have during this period needs to come into existence the National Baptist Publishing Company, which gives enterprise to the poems and fiction of the many black writers. Harlem Renaissance, it is in line with this African American poetry or literature. In the 20th century, this literary output from the New York City was abundant. It was flowing just like a reservoir. And the study of black writing of the spirit shows that it was proletarian in nature. And this attempted to raise the social consciousness. It was a period of Great Depression, and many writers have started writing the non-racial subjects. So by the close of the 20th century, African American fiction immensely represented the black literature. We have seen. And Harlem Renaissance poet leader we can call is Langston Hughes. His poetry brings us this beauty, this advocation of the black lives, skills, democratic principles, and philosophy. Ralph Ellison was also a black writer. So by the close of the 20th century, African American fiction immensely represented the black culture. Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, all they wrote in this fashion. Philip Whitley, as we have seen, they tries to assert the self-identity, assert the equal rights and true spirit. The policies of the democracy needs to be implemented in the letter and spirit. That was the aim of demand and appeal of this black Afro-American poetry and literature. So with these words, you may come to understand the basic features of African American poetry, and that we just these points that you can take the screenshot of, or you can take down the notes while I am delivering this video lecture. You can take down notes or you can refer to them as well. So let us go through this particular term in much more detail. I hope you will listen and re-listen if you don't understand to this video lecture, and definitely you will come to know the lives of the black people. So let us go through and then We will study the poem in the subsequent coming lectures by Langston Hughes. Thank you.